Hi everyone. Imagine you're a 23-year-old who's playing a completely outdated style of chess. And to make things worse, you're up against the literal world champion, who himself has criticized you on multiple occasions. Well, this was how Mikhail Tal was feeling. So without further ado, let's go. Tal's opponent in this game was none other than the legendary Mikhail Botvinnik. He was a very solid player and played the move pawn to c4 to begin the game. This is known as the English opening, and it's a more solid way of playing the game, more quiet games usually arise, and it's a very good choice for you if you do not like the main lines and want to play quieter game. Tal chose the King's Indian, and what Botvinnik did was to sort of play something of a copycat, just it does the same thing on the side and says, okay, I've got 2 pawns at the center, what are you going to do about it, Tal? Tal says, fine, I'm going to play d6, knight d7, and I'm going to play e5, take space in the center, and now Botvinnik says, okay, I'm going to play e4, now Tal plays c6, just a very fine move, opening up the queen, defending d5, b5, just a general improving, right? You don't need to really reinvent the wheel. h3 was played now by Botvinnik. This is known as the prophylactic move. You stop your opponent from ever being able to put a knight on g4 because we want to put our bishop on e3. We don't want it to be, kicked and possibly exchanged. That's where the bishop belongs. Tal now says, okay, this move is too slow. I'm going to play queen b6 to attack your pawn. This was a very common idea when the King's Indian was sort of at the childhood stage, you could say, as an opening. Now d5 is played by Botvinnik, says I'm going to gain space and I'm going to deal with a threat. Not Botvinnik, but Tal says, okay, you've gained space, but I'm going to put my knight on c5. You no longer control c5, and I'm also attacking the pawn. Botvinnik says, fine, I'm going to play knight e1, simultaneously defending the pawn on e4 and preparing knight d3. Tal develops, knight d3 takes 6, and rook c8. So you see, chess is this game of a constant conversation, which is ironically silent between the two players, which flows right from the opening to the end game. That's the beauty. And for those of you who are more familiar with the King's Indian, you may ask, why isn't black just attacking on this side, right? What are they literally moving away from it? Because that's because the king side attack is normally what you do as black. The thing is that Tal has sensed weakness. This pawn is vulnerable. You have to play rook b1 in order to be able to develop this bishop, and just this little bit of waste of time is all I need to just, get in there. Black gets first. Rook b1 is played, now knight h5. The idea is simply to play pawn to f5, or maybe something else. Let's wait and see. Bishop to e3, and now queen e2. The entire idea of queen e2 is to simply look at the knight, so that after f5 I can take. Oh my god! After f5 I can take, and you cannot take with the pawn, sort of discouraging the move, forcing the bishop to take. So Tal doesn't take it immediately, play immediately, plays rook c4, just the rook eyes this, queen goes here, just simple, right? Rooks go to the c file, and now the tension has really reached its maximum, and now Botvinnik plays the move king to h2. This seems bizarre. I mean, why would you move the king in front of the game, like right in the middle of the game? But the thing is that one thing you can learn from this game, if you were to basically learn a single thing from this game, this could be it. The thing is that when there's a lot of tension in the position and neither side should release it because it will be disadvantageous, it is a very good idea for you to just get a simple king move, right? Who knows, maybe this king h2 move will help you 60 moves down the line to win the game, maybe. So this is, of course, one thing you can learn. Here, Tal has to play for a plan because you cannot just make a move like king f8, as Tal very beautifully observed. In this position, white can play a move like bishop f1, and after moving the knight and trading everything off in the c4 square, the endgame is going to be miserable for black. Why? Because these two bozos, they're looking at rocks. I mean, this knight is not going anywhere, this bishop's not going anywhere. You have to go to the queen side, and to go to the queen side, you have to do something like this, and with the bishop to do something like this. And by the time you get your pieces back, the entire queen side has been gobbled up by white. And yeah, that's it. I mean, Tal was a very strong positional player also because he was able to see these things, even though many people say that he was just a tactical player, which is a very, very ridiculous thing to say. So Tal has to try something different. In this position, he played the move pawn to f5, which, I mean, again, seems a little bit ridiculous because I just simply told you a few moves ago that this move was literally designed to stop this f5 move by putting pressure on the knight. Well, I mean, you have to take the pawn, otherwise f4 is vicious, so pawn takes f4. Now I cannot take back with the pawn, which is what I would like to do unless I'm a 500 elo, I hang my knight and then I resign. But this is a world championship match. Tal took with the bishop, kicked the rook to a1, and you may even ask what's even so wrong about this idea, because you're kicking the pieces and you're gaining time. The thing is that for the short-term pleasure of attacking the white pieces, you've lost the greater good. The greater good in this position is the e4 square. If I can land a piece on there, you can never remove it because there is no f5, and this pawn is moving nowhere, I promise. Of course, you're still defending it, but after I kick your pieces away and everything, this will be very fine for me. For example, I'm immediately threatening to move pawn to g4, which will win a piece. Let's say you move your knight back, then I play g4 anyway, bishop d7, now you can play a move like queen d2. The entire idea is simply to bolster the rook, like this, and then trade everything on the c file. After which, again, the endgame is going to be very miserable for you because these pieces are very inactive and they're not doing anything in the game. So Tal had to play something different. In this position, Tal uncorked one of the most stupid moves and one of the smartest moves at the same time as he played the move knight to f4. Just pure savagery. What the heck is this? Brings the knight in, you take with the pawn, but guess what? This bishop is open. This bishop is also open. This rook is open. The queen is open. The queen is also over here. You have these two pieces who are like staring at rocks. What the heck is going on with the white position? And from this moment forward, tactics flow all over the position and all hell breaks loose. So buckle up because we're going to go on full calculation mode here. So firstly, the pawn is hanging, but this is not the way to go. It loses the advantage. Why? Because they played a move queen a5. Your bishop doesn't have any squares. Or does it? Bishop to b8, a lunatic move. You cannot take because your rook has to be protected. Now what I'm going to do is to play the move f3. You're going to see this idea many times in this game. The idea is simply to open up the rook and also this diagonal for the bishop. Bishop takes. Now you know what the best move is? Queen to d8. Defending the pawn. It's not even about taking the bishop. You can just run away with your bishop and take the pawn. The idea is with the king. You want to defend yourself? Check. Queen g5. You want to run away with your bishop now? I'm just simply going to take. Who's going to defend your king? f3. Who's going to defend the dark squares? Queen g3. Queen f2. Check. Check. And I take your bishop. And this endgame is winning. I can now trade down to an endgame because after it takes, we've got this pressure down the c file. Your knight can never really move. Your bishop also requires to just get it back into the game, and this pawn is a pass pawn. Not to mention the bishop pair, which is, of course, an advantage again for us. So you see how far you have to go, how deep you have to go into the rabbit hole to find why bishop takes a7 is not correct. Oh my god. Yeah, so this is literally it. And you know what the correct move is? It's to play the move pawn to a3. In the middle of everything, play the pawn to a3. This is the only move to prove an advantage. Why? Because after queen b3, now I can take the pawn. You're starting to see some signs. You cannot go to a4, you can go to a5 because of the move a3. And if you try to trap the bishop, which will work, on the previous line I will show you that. Here, you know what I can play? I can just play the move a4. Now, you're just trying to escape with the bishop. If you're trying to play something like this now, you know what I play? I play the move queen b5. Very miserable. After you trade, you have to trade. Like the queen cannot go anywhere else. I defend my bishop. I'm also going to take this pawn and run away. But don't go anywhere too quick. This is still very much in the complicated zone. Rook a6 is going to be played. Now I play bishop d7. Trying to put the bishop to pressure here and due to the pin. Bishop f1. Cool, calm, and collect to defend the pawn. Bishop to d4. Hits f2. Defends b6. King g1. Not the only move. I mean the best move. Defending the pawn. Now the pawn goes, for example, to g5. Now I play the move rook here. Your bishop moves away. I play knight e4. I target your bishop. I look for a fork. Your king comes up to g7. I play b4. I sacrifice a pawn to get this one. And now you know what I have? I've got an extra knight, and this pawn is 3 squares away from promotion. I mean, I hope you're understanding these. Yeah, this is the reason. And if you want to take the pawn and now b6, the move a4 immediately does not work because I can now play something like f3. You take, now I can play something like rook c7. Now why doesn't this work? Because after a move like this, I can play queen h4, or I can check on f4. This is the entire idea. You gotta force the queen to the b3 square so you can no longer go here, and it no longer can go here, and it can no longer go here. Okay, either of these two squares, and you can just force a trade. Oh god, chess is too complicated. Yeah, let's just quit it altogether. And you know what? We did all of this analysis for between just to go to d2. Now, somehow, black is better. Slightly. It's 0.3. Minus 0.3, which is, again, stupid. Absolutely. Now the pawn is taken by the queen. This is wrong. Why? Because you had to play the move bishop to e5 again with the idea of f3. Force them to play f3. Just bury this bishop down here and now take the pawn. We'll see the differences later. So you take the pawn immediately. Now I have this beautiful move, rook b1, rook b1, rook b1, and now I'm just getting into position. The correct move here is to take, of course, but it was very complicated. Tal thought that this was not good for him. You gotta play queen c2. Now I can play knight b5. I don't take. I'm gonna go here for a fork, and now you want to defend it. I now take, sacrificing the knights. The complications, I know they're too much. After I take, I play queen e6 check, and now, I mean, I don't even want to go down here also. This is very, very good for me. Queen takes. I'm going to take this pawn. Everything is just falling apart. Queen f6, checkmate ideas. This is not going to be good for you. So, he didn't want to play this position. Instead, he played the move pawn to f3. This is wrong. This is a blunder. Why? Because I simply take. I simply take. And you know why Botvinnik didn't like this position? Because he thought, now I can take. And now, well, I don't know why he didn't see, because you simply have to move bishop to e4. You trap the damn queen. You trap the damn queen. You see all these arrows I've made? This is just because the queen is trapped and it cannot go anywhere. And yeah, this is completely winning. You can, of course, give away this, but I mean, this is still winning. You know why? Because I just take the pawn. Because I just take the pawn. I've got ideas of a smothered mate looming. For example, a6, oh my god. Queen e6 check here. Knight f7 check, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Queen g8. What a move. What a move. And boom. Boom. This bishop, I don't know, doing whatever here. And now this knight just carried the entire squad on his back and just secured the win. So this doesn't work. But rook takes b2 was played. I just simply take the queen. Who knew that just simply taking the queen and accepting the trade, a queen trade literally, was the wrong way? Well, now you're losing because you're going to defend the knight. And I just play rook d4. I want to, you know, play down here somehow with the tactics and sacrificing it of the bishop moves. The bishop goes to e1. Now I play check, and now I go bishop f4. The bishops are just cutting off that rook, and now you see the problem with this bishop on g2, you know, that copycat strategy. Many moves down the line, the rook just simply sacrifice. I take, you take, and now I take the bishop, and now I finally emerged up a piece. No, sorry, not up a piece, up a single pawn. All this for a single pawn. Now bishop to e4. Beautiful restriction by Tal, something Botvinnik would have wanted to do, but, well, times change. Bishop to e5 and bishop to f6. You see, it's not important if we have to move backwards like this zigzag. The thing is that we preserve the bishop here, very important. And now, if you want to take, I take this pawn. You cannot take this guy because I can sacrifice the rook. And all it is not this one. Bishop to d4 check, and you lose. Well, after bishop takes c5, rook c7 was played, and now you can trade, of course. But the thing is, there's a lot of pressure. Check, check, and now rook a3. The idea is that if you want to take, I have this idea of rook a... Wait a heck. Forget that. That was a... What the heck? Ah, okay, an alarm. And rook e3 will win back the piece. So now I play d5. I just simply move up with the pieces. Now the king goes to f2, check, and king g2, and just king d6. I'm simply going to bring my king. I'm going to bring my king, pawns up, and this passed pawn is going to decide the game. Well, knight g3 was played. Now Botvinnik says, I'm going to trade everything off, and we're going to get into a rook endgame. And as he himself said, every single rook endgame is drawn. Well, not when your king is literally cut off. Another very, very good thing you can learn is that in rook endgames, it's all about cutting off the king. The thing is that this pawn, if this king were, for example, on c3 or on c2, this would be very much possibly drawn. I mean, still, with these pawns, you can play for a win. But when the king is just on the basically on the beach when everything else is happening in the city, right? The hero is having some fun in the beach while the rest of the heroes are just struggling against the villain. That's the same thing. The rook is just now isolated. The king is going to go harass it with the rook, promote the pawn. So king d5, rook goes down, but c3 doesn't matter. You're going to play here, and literally Botvinnik played rook d7 check, and as Tal was looking for where to move the king, he literally resigned, which is funny to say the least, I guess. Well, thanks for watching so far. I hope you enjoyed this video and perhaps learned something from it. I hope you also haven't got a headache from all the calculations and stuff, and I hope it wasn't that complicated. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.